We are getting more and more images of 2026 LEGO sets, including this one right here, the Autumn Cottage Garden. Now this follows the Tranquil Garden as well as the Fountain Garden as the Gardens of the World sets that LEGO's been coming out with over the last couple of years. And while I like the other two, we don't own them. But this one is more interesting because it looks like it might fit in very well with a medieval setting, and that makes it quite possibly a must-buy for LEGO Castle fans. Let's dive into that in this video. This set comes with 1,102 pieces and will retail for 120 US dollars, 110 euro, or 100 British pounds. Now this is the first one in the series that's going to give us a lot of fall foliage, which I think is interesting. And there's also a lot of really unique pieces in this set, but more on that in just a moment. The setting is definitely befitting of a medieval landscape with a small Tudor cottage, a pathway cut through the middle with a stream bisecting it. There are some small stones that provide a footpath across the stream, lots of animals, trees, a pitchfork, and a bunch of olive green plates that depict grass. The trees and fountain are modular, like we see in previous garden sets, such that you can place them in any one of the 5 2x2 slots created during the build. You could, of course, create some custom elements to fit in these slots as well. If you plopped the cottage down in the middle of the medieval town square, you wouldn't notice much of an architectural difference. It definitely has the look of a castle era set, but we're going to, a little bit later on, analyze whether it would fit in terms of scale. In addition to looking like it could fit in a medieval context, I will say in analyzing the images, there are a lot of really interesting building techniques. Check out the house. The fireplace and chimney sections are all snot work, which looks fantastic above the roof line. Various round tiles and ingots form the stonework, and the piece used for the smoke is effective, although something I've seen used before. The upstairs window is also built using snot techniques with a reddish-brown 1x2 modified plate with a bar connected to an ingot piece of the same color. The roof is also very interesting. You use some claw plates to construct a thatched roof, but unlike the medieval town square, they are placed on their sides, moving up the roof, so almost like they're pointed a different direction from those that we see in the medieval town square. So even though the piece is the same, the effect is slightly different, and it's going to provide some consistency and yet variation to your current medieval layout if you use the Lion Knight's Castle or the medieval town square. Getting a brick-built door is also a plus, and near those are some brackets used to set the timbered edge of the cottage. Now this also might be a subtle thing, but notice how the direction of the 1x2 trans light blue tiles form the current. Nearby are some lily pads and cattails, which add even more ambiance to the set. One of the things that I really like about January releases is we start seeing a lot of the new pieces and new colors coming to LEGO over the next couple of years, and this set is no exception to that. We're going to start with some rare pieces like the dark orange pumpkin that we are getting for the 6th time, the nougat snail for also the 6th time, and of course the number 6 holds the same for the dark brown candle that is used at the end of the cattails. The olive green frog isn't too common, now appearing for the 10th time in a set, but my favorite here might just be the pear, which debuted this past summer and has so far only appeared in 3 prior sets. In terms of new prints or colors, I see 2 new printed versions of the small bird, a tan version with white and orange printed on the breast, plus a sand blue version with a black beak, black and white striping across its eyes, and orange on its breast. The flowers with bar pieces are new in light purple, and the twisty piece by the fountain is, I think, new in this color of purple. The fern piece is new in sand green, which is a great shade to include here, and I look forward to seeing that in more sets, and the plume piece is appearing in bright light orange for the first time. In terms of new pieces, we are getting a garden gnome, but I will note that it looks like you build the gnome using a 1x1 round plate underneath a 1x1 blue brick that has a beard, then a blank fleshy minifig head, but then the hat, and I think the hat is what is new in this set. The drooping leaves look great, and this is also a brand new element. They really add some dimension to the tree, and this will be a great addition to the foliage lineup in the years to come. Speaking of foliage, the layered leaf piece used in the birch tree is new in that reddish orange color, and I like that color a lot more than some of the others that it's come in, like that medium lavender, which we saw in the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs cottage. I think this is a very nice looking set. It's striking with the color combinations and the little Tudor cottage that's sitting there. But I think we need to get back to the question of whether or not this is a must-buy for castle fans. Now, when I say that, I want to emphasize the context here, and that is that there are not a lot of official Lego castle or medieval styled sets. We do have quite a few in the Bricklink Designer program, but those often are very expensive, and they're also a limited production that people may not want to get for their collections because they might be looking for something that has new pieces, new minifigs, or at the very minimum, it just isn't going to be quite as expensive in terms of a one-time purchase. This set at 120 US dollars, 100 British pounds, 110 euro, definitely is below the cost that we see for a lot of those Bricklink Designer programs. I will also note that there are two important sets from the medieval lineup that are retiring at the end of this year. One of them is the Lion Knight's Castle, which has been around since 2022, as well as the Medieval Town Square, which first came out in 2024. On top of that, we should note that there are only two medieval sets that LEGO is currently producing, one of them being the Medieval Dragon from the Creator line, and then the second one is also a Creator 3-in-1 set, the Horse Knight's Castle. Now, those are two great sets that we get, but that's limited. I will note that some people will argue that Harry Potter fits into that, although I've never been quite convinced that it's fully a castle line or really fitting of a medieval context, but that may be a debate for the comments section. Now, when I look at the Autumn Cottage Garden, I see something that is definitely going to fit in well with a medieval layout if you make some modifications to it. I think the first modification you might make would be to increase the size of the cottage. I mentioned earlier that if you plop it down in the midst of the medieval town square, it is going to look a little small, even if the architecture works in very nicely. I will acknowledge there are some small sets or small homes in the medieval era, but I think this one might benefit from a little bit of an expansion of a couple of studs in depth and maybe even height, because it doesn't strike me as quite to the same scale as those medieval town square buildings. But it's something that definitely could fit in there. I also love the way that LEGO sets up the landscaping with the tan path coming in and that stream. It's something that you could definitely mimic around it to make a large layout. It would be very parts intensive, however, and that's something that some people may not want to get into, but I find it fascinating. Now, one thing that I've noticed with this set is it comes with a base similar to the other two sets in this series. Now, some people have commented that I've seen that they don't like the base, or the base wouldn't work obviously in a medieval layout, but I will note that you could take that base off, and there are a lot of very useful pieces in that base, including those dark blay tiles. So I think you can do a lot with those pieces, which would make it beneficial to purchase the set, take the base off, and apply or drop that set into the medieval display that you have. And so again, my argument for this being a must-buy would be that there are very few medieval sets coming out in 2026 that we know of. This might be the first one. I'm very much hoping that we get something larger, but I've seen no rumors, and until I see evidence of that happening, I can only go based on what we have available to us or that we know is coming down the road. So what is the argument against this being a must-buy for medieval fans? Well, I think first and foremost, if you don't consider Harry Potter to be a must-buy, then what makes this a must-buy? If Harry Potter isn't fully castle because it doesn't have classic castle factions or updated castle factions, new castle factions, this one's not going to help you out much at all because there are no formal minifigs in it. Also, this one is not the right scale for the current medieval sets that we have available, so you'd have to make some modifications. So if you want to go that route, you should be able to build the cottage with pieces in your collection or get them off of Bricklink without having to spend 120 US dollars on the set. You just get the cottage, put it on a more custom base, green plates, whatever color you want to fit into your medieval display, and there you go. So I'm not sure this is really a must-buy, even though it is certainly an attractive set. I will note that we're all, I think, hopeful for more castle sets in 2026. At this point, we don't know anything else that's going to be available in the upcoming year. That's not to say that there won't be. If you notice, the Lion Knight's Castle came out in 2022. the Medieval Town Square in 2024. So I'm hoping that this one is going to, or this year is going to bring us another castle set that would fit into that whole arrangement. But again, nothing has been rumored, nothing has been confirmed. So I'm going to come short of saying this is a must-buy set for castle fans, but I definitely could understand the appeal if you want to go out and get it and include it in your medieval layout. I think it would look very, very good there. As for us, is this a day one purchase? It's hard to say. One thing I've noticed for the Tranquil Garden as well as the Fountain Garden, both of those sets are routinely on sale. In fact, right now on Amazon.com here in the United States, they are between 20 and 30% off. So you could get those sets at a discount. It makes no sense to go out and certainly buy this one day one unless you really want to get ready for some sort of convention or display, or maybe you operate a YouTube channel and you want people to be able to see the review before they go out and buy it. That could be an idea. But fundamentally, I would wait on getting this one until it goes on sale. I guarantee you that it is going to go on sale at some point, maybe even at a 30% plus discount in the future. So if you are interested in it, wait until then. And at that point, we might actually know more information about any castle sets that are not part of the Bricklink Designer program that are coming down the line. Let me know what you think about this set, if it's attractive to you, or if you are thinking about buying it at some point in time, and if so, how you might plug it into a medieval display. Thanks for watching, and always remember to keep building together.